Good morning. My name is Adrian Fogelin, and I write what your students call chapter books. For years now, I've been visiting classrooms all over the country, but lately I've added a new kind of visit, a virtual visit, which is done over the internet via Skype. So, what do I do on a virtual visit? Well, virtually the same thing I would do if I were in your classroom. I talk to your students, they talk to me. I tell you about how I became a writer. I always show them this. This is my 4th grade diary. The Christmas I got this, what I really wanted was a dog. But this may be the place that I began to be a writer. By the way, I'm not the kid you would have picked out to grow up to be a writer. I wasn't a good reader. I wasn't a good writer. If I became a writer, any of your students can. I also tell the stories behind the stories. For example, this book, Crossing Jordan, it began with a knock on the door. And when I opened it, my 9-year-old neighbor, Christina, was standing there, and she said, "Guess what, Miss Adrian? We're going to have to move soon, because there are getting to be too many black people in this neighborhood." And I sat down and I began to write Crossing Jordan. I always give your kids a taste of what it's like to be a writer. Together we build a character and a story, and we always begin with something that belongs to the character. For example, I have an old Vietnam-era army boot. And I might ask questions like, "You've seen the shoes he's wearing. If you could empty his pockets, what would he be carrying with him? And if you could walk into his house, what would his sofa look like? If you could take a deep breath while you were there, what would you smell?" Little by little, we build the character and the story. The only difference is that on a virtual visit, the shoes will be on your side of the screen. Now, an in-person visit is great. But there are a couple of ways in which a virtual visit is actually better. It's less expensive, quick to arrange, you can still get signed book plates for the books, and you get to come to my house. Welcome to Tallahassee, Florida. This is where I do all of my writing. And because you're here in my living room, I can show you some things that I couldn't stick in my suitcase. For example, I have a character named Miss Johnette, a high school biology teacher who lives in what she calls the Bone Museum. Well, guess what? That's a bone hanging over my head, a whale vertebra. And let me show you this. Here's something I could never stick in a suitcase, the skull of a sea turtle. So, with a virtual visit, your kids come into the home of the author, a whole different experience. So, I'm hoping that this year you'll invite me to your school for a visit which is economical, very effective, and you won't even have to pick me up at the airport.